Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome back to our YouTube channel once again. And in this particular video, I want us to talk about Langata parliamentary seat. I want us to talk about Langata for two main reasons. The first reason why I want us to talk about Langata is because the member of parliament, Felix Jalango, who was elected on ODM party, has actually been expelled from that party, which means in the eyes of ODM supporters, they no longer have Jalango as their member of parliament. So that's the first reason why I want us to talk about Langata. Number two, I've been also observing the latest activities of Eric Omondi. Is Eric Omondi planning to run for Langata parliamentary seat? And because of those two reasons, I want us to also ask ourselves some two questions. The first question which I want us to ask is whether Felix Jalango can actually win Langata parliamentary seat without the support of ODM party. Because you all remember that during the last election, he really contested on ODM party. And Raila Odinga came out strongly to support his bid. Can Jalango win Langata without ODM party?
Nataka MCA Azimio, MP, Women Rep, Senator, Governor, Rais, Rais, hapa Langata. Mara ile nyingine tulipata madoadoa hapa, sitaki kuona hii. Mara hii mtu yangu ni huyu vijana.
For us to understand whether Felix Jalango can actually win Langata without ODM party, let us go to the results of the last election, because numbers don't lie. According to IBC figures, Felix Jalango won the election after getting 38,948 votes, while Korir came second with 36,836. The difference was about 2,000 votes. And from the face value, Jalango can easily win that seat without ODM party. But is that the reality? Again, let us dig deeper, because numbers don't lie, and figure out how did Raila perform against Ruto in Langata in the same election. According to IBC figures, Raila Odinga got 51,223,000 votes in Langata, while William Ruto got 27,871. The difference between Ruto and Raila was 24,000, while the difference between Jalango and Korir was only 2,000. That can only mean something. That there is a huge percentage of people of Langata who voted for Raila Odinga, but they felt that Jalango was not the right candidate. And of course, you can't ignore the difference of 24,000 votes. Again, if you go back again to the figures in 2017, the difference between Omoke and Korir were less than 2,000. Actually, there were 1,200 there. But Korir managed to win. But if you look at the same election, the difference between Ruto and Raila in 2017, the difference was almost over 24,000, which means even in 2017, majority of people of Langata voted for Raila Odinga, but they never voted for Omoke. And that can be explained by dissatisfaction on how ODM conducted their nominations. In fact, in 2017, as much as most people voted for Raila and ignored Omoke, most people felt that there was this MCA, it was called Oda, who most people thought was the right candidate. When Jalango came, again, there were rebellion from the people who believed they were the real owners of Langata in there. So the question whether Jalango can win without ODM can be answered by that. But for me, for Jalango to win in Langata, he must make a very bold move. And that bold move is to ditch ODM party and then join UDA and then plan from UDA party so that he becomes the sole UDA candidate. Otherwise, his plans are not going to work because according to what I've been told, Jalango is planning to go as independent. What that will do is that UDA will sponsor a candidate because UDA will not leave any seat without a candidate. UDA will sponsor a candidate, then it will mean that Jalango will compete with Western Alliance and that they'll only split votes with ODM. And in that case, Jalango is going to be number 3. And probably I've once advised Jalango that maybe William Ruto wants to send him home without knowing. But if he's serious that he wants to retain his seat, ODM has expelled him. The only shortcut for him is to officially ditch ODM and not join any other party, UDA party. Then the second question, and for me, if you ask me, it's going to be a tall order for Jalango to win without ODM because it's going to be viewed differently. Then the other question which I want us to ask ourselves, can Eric Omondi win Langata? Because it's moving around. The other day I saw him with Raila Odinga. Eric Omondi is a comedian just like Jalango. Yesterday he spent most of his time with Raila Odinga, which means he's also working so hard to win the support of the Odingas. During the last election, that was the exact script Jalango used. Jalango was ever present around Mama Raila Odinga. In fact, those who understand ODM politics believe that Jalango became member of parliament for Langata because of the support he received from Mama Raila Odinga. Can Eric Omondi win Langata? Again, it will depend on several other factors. So in this video, I want us to look at those factors which are likely to determine the winner in Langata. Before we do that, for those who are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support, because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. And without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to dive in. But before I dive in, allow me to thank the following people. You are seeing their names there for the coffee which they sent to me. Teresa, thank you so much. It's been a while. I received it. And let us dive in. What are some of the factors which will determine the outcome of parliamentary election in Langata? Let me add something. Of all the 4 members of parliament who are kicked out by ODM, the only one with a slight chance is Felix Oduor Jalango. Karoli will go home. Elisha Odhiambo will go home. Bondo, member of parliament, is going to go home. And of course, Ojianda has already gone home, in my view. So Jalango has a bit of chance because Nairobi is a bit cosmopolitan. William Ruto is now the president. He can play with the 54%, remember the 54%. But what are some of the factors which are definitely going to determine the outcome of Langata parliamentary seat? Of course, there are other candidates who are going to contest. I've seen Okango Frederick has declared on Facebook and Twitter that is ready to run. I'm sure that the fact after Jalango left ODM party, so many other individuals are definitely going to contest on ODM ticket. But what are going to be some of the factors? The first factor, in my view, is political formation. Anybody who has always followed the Nairobi politics has always revolved around a formation. If you go to 2002, it was a formation, NAC. If you go, in fact, NAC, because of the Kikuyu, Luo, Western Alliance factor, NAC swept Nairobi. Then in 2013, if you look at it, it was Kikuyus versus Western Alliance, you add to cost. 2017, it was the same. So that in a constituency where the Western Alliance are majority, like you can identify Kibra, you can identify Langata, you can identify Madare, you can identify Roraka, they've always voted with Azimio or Raila for that matter. And the ones which are predominantly Mount Kenya, they've always voted with Mount Kenya, including Kasarani, Embakasi, Central, those other ones, including West. So the political formation, if Raila Odinga is going to stick with Kalonzo, then the Kamba votes are going to determine the outcome of of Langata. If you look at 2017, when Nixon Korir won, William Ruto did something. He allowed ODM to sponsor a candidate, then Wiper also sponsored a candidate. So if you look at the number of votes which the Wiper candidate got, which was over 6,000, purely the Kamba votes, if you ask me, that's how he was able to tilt the equation. So that political formation is going to be critical. So is that political formation going to favor Jalas, or is it going to favor Umosh for that matter? Let us wait and see. The second factor is actually going to be the tribal arithmetics. How will Luos, let's just be now honest, how will Luos vote in Langata? Because I'm sure 90% of Luos in Langata voted for Jalango. Will 90% of Luos again in Langata vote against Jalango? And what about other tribes? So it's going to be tribal arithmetics. Let us not lie about Kenyan politics. It's going to be a tribal arithmetics. You know, like Kibra, you know, Dagoretti Westlands would always go Oloya way. Dagoretti North, you know, those tribal arithmetics will have to be in play. So if Jalango wants to retain his seat, he must ensure that at least he retains 30% of the Luo votes. And then you must also ensure that those who voted for Korir, because Korir did a lot of importation, he must ensure that the same people will actually be imported again. Because maybe Korir will not be on the ballot. So those people would want to vote wherever they were. So the other factor is going to be the ODM nominations. How will ODM conduct their nomination? Pure, simple. If the voters of Langata, because you know, Langata is not any other constituency. That's a constituency of the elite. If by chance they wake up and they go for a nomination and they feel that their guy has been shortchanged, then they'll do what they did. In 2017, vote for Korir. In 2022, vote for Korir. ODM nomination. So for ODM to win in Langata, for their figures to reflect the votes Raila Odinga is always getting, it means they must conduct a free, fair, and credible elections. Nominations for that matter. Without that, maybe Jalango will have upper hand. The fourth factor which is going to play, if you ask me, is the Kikuyu factor. Kikuyu factor. Kikuyu has missed out in Kibera in 2013. 2000 and in Langata, they've met in Langata in 2013, 2017, 2022. Will the Kikuyu agree to support another non-Kikuyu, whether UDA or someone else, in 2027? That is the biggest question. That is the biggest question. Because I remember in 2017, William Ruto had to convince Uhuru Kenyatta to allow Korir run. Because, you know, he had interest. You know, Langata is very crucial for Ruto. It houses Weston, which sits on a grabbed land, and William Ruto needed someone to protect. And of course, there are other facilities in Langata there, which Ruto has interest in. So he must have someone there. So the Kikuyu in Langata will play a key role. So will the Kikuyus in Langata vote for Jalango? Swala nyeti. And lastly, it's also going to depend on how the residents of Langata will grade Felix Jalango's performance. And that's why I began by telling you that Langata is not your ordinary constituency. That's a constituency for the elite, those who are educated. They understand the role of a member of parliament. And that's why sometimes when Jalango is telling the resident there that, oh, nakuletea nimeenda State House could bring development, sometimes I fail to understand the kind of people he's targeting. Because the residents of Langata are people who are well informed. They'll be able to know that this has been done, this has been done. In fact, I like telling people what Ala is doing in Kileleshwa. You see, Kileleshwa is one of those estates, and their interests are funny. You know, there's a bar somewhere in the estate making noise. Then Robert Alai complains. And things like those really excite those people because they don't want noise. Someone opens a car wash along the road there, Robert Alai goes and stops. So the residents there will vote for him. That's exactly almost to Langata. Performance. Will they value CDF? Will they value Felix Oduor giving them housing, water, all those? Because they understand. So if they'll grade Jalango highly, then it's okay. If they will not grade him, then he has a problem. So if I were Jalango, I'd sit down and figure out, based on other parameters, figure out whether the residents are actually in concurrence with what I'm doing. I don't know what to think. That's my take. Thank you guys, and may you have a good day. And by the way, I'm coming back with another video of Simba Arati. Why do you think Raila Odinga appointed Simba Arati as the vice chairperson of ODM party? Until that time, this is Lee Makwiny. Bye-bye.